Hey there, it's Nina with Walla Stamping. Thanks for joining me today. So this week, when I was doing my Walla Stamping Live on Facebook, I asked everyone if there was a particular technique or any type of project they'd like to see me do. And one lady said that she would like to see a partial die cutting project, and another one asked for a gift card holder. And then, since I'm late, but this is a Gift Tag Tuesday project, so I tried to combine all three of those things into one project. So this box holds a gift card, and on the front is the gift tag that decorates the box, and then the gift tag also has some partial die cutting. So I'm trying to accomplish all three things in one package. Now, as we're going through the video, you don't have to worry about trying to write everything down as far as measurements and supplies and where to score and cut and all of that. I'm going to have a link in the description box that's below the video. It'll have a list of all of the supplies that I've used, and there will be links to each one of those. There will also be a link to my website where you can go and get a free printable PDF for this project. It'll have a list of supplies on there as well. It'll have all the cutting measurements, all of the score lines, and detailed instructions on what to do to make this project, as well as a detailed diagram that'll show you all the scoring and cutting and adhesive lines. So let's jump on in and get started. So to start this box, I have my card base, which is a piece of smoky slate. This is cut to 9 1/4 by 8 7/16. Then the front of the box is also a piece of smoky slate, 7 1/4 by 2 3/4. Then I have a couple pieces here of soft sky. These are going to end up holding the gift card on the inside of the box. You'll need 2 of these, and this is cut to 2 5/8 by 5 1/4. And then I wanted a panel to put on the inside back of the box. This is some silver foil sheet. It's 2 5/8 by 3 5/8. And then to make the gift tag for the front, I have a piece of Christmas Around the World Designer Series paper cut to 3 by 5, and I've mounted it on top of a piece of smoky slate cut to the same size. I wanted it to be very sturdy. Then I've just got some scrap pieces of soft sky, silver foil, and silver glimmer paper to do all of the embellishments on the front. So some of the other things I'm going to be using is my Versamark ink and my embossing buddy. The stamp set that I'm using today is the Christmas Pines stamp set, and I'm going to use this little bitty sentiment right here that says "To you and yours." The framelits that I'm going to be using today, got a couple. I've got the Pretty Pines Thinlits. Well, I will be using these 2 pine cones and this medium size pine branch, as well as this large pine cone here. And then I have my lots of labels, which I'm going to show you the die cut or the partial die cutting technique. So I'll be using that as well. I'm also going to have some punches and some different adhesives that I'll be using along the way. My punches are going to be the 3/4 inch, the 1/2 inch, and I'm actually going to use the Project Life corner rounder. Now this is a retired item. If you don't have a corner rounder, then you don't have to do that part of the project. Some of the adhesives I'm going to be using is my tear and tape, some Stampin' Dimensionals, my adhesive foam strips, some of my mini glue dots, as well as my multi-purpose liquid glue. And I'll also be incorporating my Classic Weave Whisper White. I've also got a couple of other punches here. This is just my 1/8 inch handheld punch and my 1/4 inch punch. I'm going to start out by putting my box base in with the 9 1/4 inch side going across the top, and I'm going to score as follows. There's 1 3/4 inch, then 3 1/4, then 6 and 7 1/2. Then I'll turn it a 1/4 turn, and I'm going to score at 1 1/2 inches, at 5 1/4, and at 8. Now for the front of the box, I'm going to put this piece of card in where the 7 1/4 is going across the top. I'm going to score at 1.5 inches, at 5 1/4, and at 6 3/4. Then for both of my inserts for holding my gift card, I'm going to put this in so that the 5 1/4 is across the top. I'm going to try to score both of these at the same time. Let's see if it's going to work. I'm going to start out by scoring at 5/8 of an inch, then at 2 3/8, then at 3, let me make sure that doesn't move, 3 inches, and then finally 4 3/4. I'm going to go ahead and do my die cutting, and I'm also going to do my stamping and heat embossing. So I'm going to start out with that first. And this piece of cardstock is cut to just a little over 2 inches, and then it's about 4.5 to 5 inches long. I'm just going to put my embossing buddy right here at the very bottom. Grab my Versamark ink and my sentiment, get that inked up, and I'm going to be embossing with silver embossing powder. I'm going to stamp this. Let me make sure you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to stamp this right down here very close to the bottom and somewhat in the center. I'm going to put that into my silver embossing powder and then get that heat set. Now I'm simply just going to take my scissors and just cut right across the top of those words that I just stamped. Then I'm just going to cut a little banner edge. Actually, I'm going to make this slightly shorter. Then cut a small little banner edge on this side. So there's my sentiment. I'm just going to sit that out of the way for now. And what I want to do is go ahead and get my partial die cutting done. So this is a technique that someone had asked me to do. I'm going to grab my lots of labels, and I'm going to be using the next to the largest of my lots of labels. I'm going to lay that on top of what is going to be my gift tag. I'm going to line the top of it up even with the edge of my paper, and then just make sure that on either side there's a slight overhang of my paper. Then I'm going to take my top cutting plate, slide that in, but when I place it on top of my die, I'm going to make sure that right here where that first curve starts, I'm going to stop my cutting pad right there, because everything on this side of my cutting pad will not get cut because it's not laying on top of it. So let's roll this on through. So there you have the top portion cut out, and then all I'm going to do is just grab my scissors and just cut straight up to where that other cut line is, turn that around, and then cut straight down on this side. So that is how you do a partial die cutting technique. So what I have done here is I've cut out 3 of the medium pine branches, 1 in soft sky, 2 in silver glimmer. I've cut out 1 each of these 2 pine cones in the silver glimmer, 2 of this one from a soft sky, and 1 of this one from the silver foil sheet. So now we can go ahead and start building our decorations for the front. So I'm just going to flip these 2 over that I've done with the glimmer paper, and I'm just going to use my multi-purpose liquid glue and apply just a little bit of this to the back of this pine cone as well as the other one. I'm just putting some little dots. Just flip these over and attach each one. We'll set those aside just for a minute and let that glue dry, and then I'll go ahead and get my hole punched in my tag. So I'm going to take my ink pen and I'm going to make a mark where I want my hole to be. I'm going to take my 1/4 inch punch and punch that hole. I'm going to take my other piece of silver foil and I'm going to punch a 1/4 inch hole out of the middle of that. Then take my 1/2 inch punch, line that hole up that I just punched in the center, and then punch that out. Then I'm going to use my multi-purpose liquid glue again, and I'm just going to put a little bit around, let's do that again. A little bit around that circle, and then attach that to my tag. So now I'm going to use my mini glue dots, and I will start out by attaching some of my pine branches. So I'm going to start out with one of the silver glimmer paper, put a glue dot on the back, and I'm going to attach this right here, kind of coming down at an angle to the left. Put another glue dot here, put the second silver one on, coming down at an angle to the right. Then I want those to be adhered down, so I'm going to take another glue dot, fold it in half, put it underneath down here closer to the bottom. That one as well as this one. Then I will attach the soft sky right here in the center. Get that stuck down at the bottom. Then I'm going to attach my little holly branch. Right there. Then I will be using my mini glue dots as well as my dimensionals to attach my pine cones. Now this one I'm going to put 2 dimensionals on the back, one at the top, one at the bottom. I'll place this one right here. Then this one is going to lay on top. So what I'm going to want to do on this is I'm going to put a glue dot right here on the corner of this pine cone where I know that's going to be adhered. Then I'm going to put my dimensional at the bottom of this pine cone and then just overlap them like that. Now I have my little sentiment. I'm going to be using my adhesive foam strips to attach this. So I'm just going to cut a little piece that looks like it'll be the right length to fit on the back of that and attach that, and then just attach it straight to my tag. If it's a little bit too long, I can just snip off what I don't need. So I'm going to use my Whisper White Classic Weave Ribbon, cutting a piece here that's about 6 inches long, and I'll probably end up cutting a little bit of that off as well. I'm going to string that through the hole in the top of my tag. Now just to make this easier for me to control, I'm going to use a mini glue dot again, and I'm going to attach one right here, right where that ribbon is at the top of the tag. Then I'm going to take my other side, bring it around, and stick that down. That's going to hold my ribbon together, so while I tie the bow around it, it's going to stay still. It just makes it a lot easier. So first of all, I'm going to do my cutting. And the part of the box that has that little 1/2 inch score line at the end, that is going to end up being the top of the box. So what we're going to do first is trim up each of these vertical score lines, and I'm stopping when I reach that first horizontal score line, going all the way across. Now these 2 little squares out here at the end, we don't need those, so I'm going to cut those off. Then I'm going to fold this center piece out of the way and cut a couple of wedges out of these tabs right here. Then I'm going to flip this upside down, and for the most part this is going to get cut pretty much identically to that. So I'm going to start by cutting up each of these score lines, but this time I'm going to go to the second horizontal score line and cut all the way across. Now just like the other side, we don't need these two end pieces, so I'm going to cut those away. Then when it comes to these two little tabs right here, this one I'm going to leave in place. This one I'm going to cut down so that it's about an inch long. And then this one that's in the center, we don't need it at all, so I'm going to cut it away also. I made a boo-boo on this one. I cut a little slit right there, and that is not where it was supposed to go. It was supposed to go there. This was my last piece of smoky slate, wouldn't you know it? So I've recut it in my soft sky, and I'm going to show you the proper placement of this little slit. So let's move this one out of the way and redo it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my ruler and put that right there where that tab is, and I'm going to come in about 3/8 of an inch from this side as well as 3/8 of an inch from this side. So right here where this line is, that's where I'm going to cut a slit. So what I have here is just a piece of copy paper that I have folded and folded and folded until it's very thick, because I'm going to use this to protect my work surface. I'm going to come over here with my X-Acto knife, and I'm going to come to the left side, or the side of the score line that's on this side of my box, and I'm going to cut right alongside that line that I just made. Then I'm going to come just to the other side of that score line, and I'm going to do that again right over there. Then where these two pieces are still attached, I'll just cut right there, and then just remove that little piece. So now I have my little line cut where it ought to be. So now where this little 1/2 inch score line is, I'm going to come in here and make a little mark at 3/8 of an inch there and 3/8 of an inch from that side also. I don't need my X-Acto knife for this one. Just going to use my scissors. I'm going to cut straight across that score line until I reach that little dot that I drew. Do the same thing on this side. And then I'm going to cut at an angle from the top down to that little area, that little dot, and from this top down to that little dot. So then I'll end up having this shape. So this is what you should have when you're done. You'll have a little tab here, and you'll have a little slit cut out right here. This tab will end up going into that slit. So let's go ahead and get our box put together. I'm just going to be using my tear and tape to do this with. So I'm going to put a couple of pieces on this tab as well as this tab. I like to use my bone folder to run over that and make sure that it's stuck down really well. So then to assemble this box, I'm going to fold that little tab in and attach it to this bottom flap as well as this little tab. Then these two pieces will get folded in. This will fold down, and this little tab will come over and tuck right down inside that slit. So let's go ahead now and make the front part of our box. And that is the piece that is 7 1/4 by 2 3/4. Just going to fold and burnish all of my score lines. Then what I'm going to do here is use my corner rounder and round these corners right here. I like the way that this looks, but like I said, if you don't have a quarter rounder, then you don't have to do that step. I'm also going to use my scissors and cut just a little fraction off. And I forgot, I had intended on rounding these corners also. Now to attach this, I'm going to use my tear and tape again, and the large flap on the opposite end of where you have the little 1/2 inch tab, apply my tear and tape down here. Now to make sure that this is going to fit right, I'm going to put this part of my box together. I'm going to slide this into the back, wrap that around the front of the box, and then this is the part that has the adhesive on it. I'll just wrap that right around the bottom of the box and stick that down. I want to take my little insert, fold this back out of the way. You can do this before you get to this part of putting your box together also. I'm just going to use my multi-purpose liquid glue and put glue on the back of this little panel and stick that on the inside of my box. Take my 3/4 inch circle punch, slide that down in there, and I want it in the center, left to right, and then I want my cardstock running through the center of that circle. So I'm going to set my box to the side for now and go ahead and get the little pieces together that is going to hold the gift card. I'm going to start out by folding and burnishing all of my score lines. Now one side up here, this is 5/8 of an inch to the score line. This side is a 1/2 inch to the score line. This is where I'm going to put my adhesive right next to my score line. So I'm going to fold that over, then fold this one over and attach it down. And I like to fold mine one way and then the other, just to make sure that it's going to be nice and square. Now where these cut edges are showing right here and right here, we want to put those two sides together. So I'm going to use my multi-purpose liquid glue, and I'm just going to run a little bead right along this edge, right along this edge, and then right along the bottom next to where that cut piece of paper is. It's sticking to my finger. I must have glue on me. Then I will put these two together. I'm going to flip this upside down, use my tear and tape, put a couple of pieces across the bottom. Then I will put it inside of my box, and I want to put that in right there close to the front. That way those little tabs that are on the inside are not going to show. I'm going to go ahead and open my box for just a moment because I want to put the card inside. So now all you have to do to put the card inside is just slip that right in that slit there. Then we'll close our box up. So I'm going to attach my card to my box, and to do that with, I'm just going to use my foam adhesive strips. Then I will lay that right on top of my box. Give that a light little press, and it's done, except for I do want to shorten these. Okay, so our projects are complete, and I did make a boo-boo on this one, and you know, sometimes I really don't mind showing it when I make a mistake like that, because I know that it may help you learn from my mistakes, and believe me, I make them a lot. So I hope that you enjoyed this little tutorial, and that if you requested the gift card holder or the partial die cutting technique, that you are happy with this project. And also keep in mind that this is a Gift Tag Tuesday project as well. So when you go over to my website to get your printable PDF for this project, make sure you sign up for my newsletter, because I send out exclusive tutorials throughout the month, as well as keep you updated on new events that are coming up in Stampin' Up, and I try to share some techniques and different things with you along the way. I would also love if you would subscribe to my YouTube channel. That way, whenever I have a project posted, you're not going to miss it. And if you like this tutorial and you like the content here, I would love for you to give this video a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to leave them in the comment section below the video or over on my blog, or you can always send me an email if you like. So I hope you have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.